Joining us. As the peace talks are set to resume on Sunday, the government and the Communist Party failed to declare unilateral ceasefires. This means clashes could still happen. But in this report, Rex Remitio tells us both sides are still seeing light at the end of the tunnel.
The guns won't be silenced, at least for now, as the government and the Communist Party failed to declare unilateral ceasefires on the eve of the resumption of peace talks in the Netherlands. The CPP says its arm wing, the New People's Army, will continue to carry out offensives against the government's armed forces. The Defense Department, on the other hand, is calling on the people to reject the NPA's actions. The CPP had said it wants to declare a ceasefire before March ends and was expecting the government to reciprocate. But that did not happen.
If they feel that we are not prepared to declare one, then I don't think they will proceed with the declaration of a unilateral ceasefire.
Bello says government is more interested in a bilateral ceasefire deal, echoing the president's position. The government panel says the parameters of the ceasefire should be clear. The government will also not recognize the communist territorial claims. And the Reds should also end collecting revolutionary taxes, arson activities, and release all prisoners. For the National Democratic Front, government's non-declaration of a unilateral ceasefire is an unexpected departure from their March 11 back-channel agreement. But the Reds are still willing to discuss the possible bilateral ceasefire during the fresh round of talks. Both panels will also talk about the socio-economic reforms, the heart and soul of the peace process, and the release of political prisoners as a confidence-building measure.
Isulong ang armadong pakikibaka, sumapi sa bagong hukbong bayan.
Bello meanwhile downplays the NPA's protests and recruitment attempts. He says these are mere show of force and are expected during negotiations.
That's the reality. We are in a state of armed conflict, and that's the reason why we are talking to end this armed conflict. Realidad yan eh. Saka yung mga posturing nila na ganyan, understandable yan, part of their propaganda.
The country's communist insurgency is one of the world's longest. More than 40,000 people have died in clashes in the last 48 years. The talks have been on and off, and with both sides reluctant to keep their finger off the trigger, a final peace agreement remains elusive. Rex Remitio, CNN, Philippines.